Well, I was going to blow some stuff up, but I think that's already been done. Thank you so much. When I was 21 years old, I started 2 social media companies. One was called Unilad, and the other was called the Lad Bible. If I had known that they would turn into the 2 largest social media brands in the world, and I would later nearly die as a result of the pressure caused by what happened next, I might have thought twice about starting them at all. Let me start from the beginning. At university, my nickname was Spike, named after the character in the film Notting Hill. Lazy, and with permanent bed hair. I spent far too much time on my computer, generally half naked. Yet, I never got to see Julia Roberts in the bath. Despite this appearance, I did miraculously somehow manage to get myself a girlfriend. She was the editor-in-chief of the university magazine. Needless to say, the relationship didn't last long. I was heartbroken. I thought, if I started another magazine, this would impress her, and I would win her back. Her magazine was targeted at the female student, so I thought to avoid being in direct competition, I would target mine at the male student. There were a number of popular websites at the time. One was called True Lad, one was called Top Lad. Mine needed to be university related, so the name Unilad seemed like an obvious choice. I remember running into my housemate's room and saying, "Will, what do you think of the name Unilad?" And he turned his head and blew out his puff of marijuana smoke and said, "Yeah, that sounds really cool, man." So with a focus group of 1, the name Unilad was stuck. My other housemate was a computer science student, one of the really geeky kinds. And I found myself in the kitchen with him one morning, and I said, "Philip, is there anything I can do clever that would help me market Unilad to the students?" And he said, "Alex, did you know that you could hack into the university database and get a hold of all of the email addresses of every student at this university?" I was amazed at how casual the tone of his voice was when he was suggesting this. But I said, "Philip, that's fantastic. Can you do this for me?" He said, "No, Alex, I can't do it for you because the consequences of getting caught are quite serious, but I can show you how to do it, and if you want to take the risk, then you can do it." So, that afternoon, 2 hours spent with Philip later, and I had a list of thousands of email addresses. And I would send out every day the latest Unilad article. And, needless to say, it wasn't long before I started hearing people talking about Unilad. In the pub, in lecture theatres, on the bus. "Are you getting the Unilad emails? Who's behind the website? I hear it's from a student at this university." During that week, the Unilad Facebook page amassed over 20,000 followers. However, I was becoming increasingly anxious about getting caught out by the university. So I stopped using the emails, and I started what would become my next growth hack. I put a big advert on the Unilad Facebook page which said, "Anybody who likes the Unilad Facebook page will receive a free condom." Step 1, follow the Facebook page. Step 2, private message the Facebook page with your email address, with your delivery address. I was absolutely inundated. Thousands of students flocked to the Unilad Facebook page. And I remember running down to my local sexual health clinic. Absolutely desperately in need of some help. And I told them about the idea. They absolutely loved it. They gave me 2 industrial-sized boxes of condoms. And I think anybody who saw me walking home that afternoon holding these 2 boxes probably thought that I thought I was better looking than I actually was. But Like a fool, I didn't anticipate the cost of envelopes and stamps. I spent the last £1,000 that I had sending out as many free condoms as I could, but ultimately, I let a lot of people down. A lot of people didn't get their condoms. And I haven't seen the data, but I think if you look back, you might see a spike in pregnancies in or around 2012. But the Unilad free condom campaign was a massive success, and it grew the Unilad brand by over 500,000 followers. All of this was happening simultaneously with me receiving letters and emails from the university asking where I was, all of which I was ignoring. And then suddenly my housemate ran into my room and said, "Alex, your parents are at the front door." And before I could comprehend the situation, my mum and dad were in my university bedroom. My dad was holding up a letter which had been delivered to their home address. The university had sent them a letter saying I was kicked out, and my parents said they were taking me home. I had sacrificed my degree based on a silly Facebook page called Unilad, but this Facebook page now had over 2 million followers, and I was being approached by brands to do sponsorship deals. It was fantastic. All of this whilst working from my bedroom, albeit now at my parents' house. I desperately needed help, and that help came in the form of 2 gentlemen who sent me an email offering their assistance in exchange for equity in the company. So we met up in a bar, of course, and a little bit later, I signed a piece of paper. Very shortly afterwards, I turned on my computer, and I had been logged out of the Facebook page and kicked out of my own company. I was about to start what turned into a 4-year legal battle, a true David versus Goliath story. But in this case, the Goliath was something that I had created. It really felt like I was in a battle against myself. I was cracking under the pressure of the whole situation. I was cracking under the pressure of having to raise money to pay for my legal fees. I was cracking under the pressure of thinking, what if I've got this wrong? What if I'm not in the right, like I thought that I was? The High Court trial in London was just around the corner, and I had to raise a significant amount of money to pay for my legal representation. And then it happened. If Alex has one more bottle of wine this evening, he will die of acute alcohol poisoning, is what the doctors told my parents. Of course, I don't remember any of this. I was too busy being restrained in the back of a police car parked outside of the hospital, the police car being the only thing stopping me from getting over the road to the petrol station where I could buy another bottle of wine. I woke up in hospital twice that week. The money to pay my legal fees was raised very quickly after this. My dad put his rare antique corkscrew collection into auction. It was an extensive corkscrew collection which he had collected over 35 years. And I remember seeing them all laid out on the dining room table, and he was trying to work out if it would raise enough money to pay for my legal representation at trial. Needless to say, it did. There was a considerable wait after trial before we heard on judgment, and we later found out it was because the judge had never seen a dispute over social media property of this scale before. But my phone did ring eventually, and it was my solicitor, and he said, "Alex, are you on your own?" And I said, "Yes." And after a pause, he said, "Alex, you've won everything." I've told this story a number of times, and after the last time I told it on stage, I came to the brutal realization that I had been lying to myself and presenting my story in the same way that I described Facebook, as a fake highlight reel. The way I was presenting myself throughout the court case missed out several details. It missed out how I was battling behind the scenes with my own mental health, how I was using alcohol to deal with the whole situation, and how my family came together to support one of their own in a way that I've never seen before. Social media is a fantastic opportunity to share the best moments in your life, your weddings, your holidays, and everything else, but please take it with a pinch of salt. Only your nearest and dearest and yourself are given backstage passes to your real life. Social media is like looking at the moon. It looks bright, it looks brilliant, but you only ever see one side of it. Thank you for listening.